All right, so let's talk a little bit more about clipping, and this will probably be my final video on the subject of clipping. And this one is the most misconceived, the biggest misconception about clipping. Does low voltage cause clipping? Some people say yes, some people say no. I'm going to show you the truth. All right. Does low voltage itself cause clipping? No. If you set your amplifier gains to your voltage drop, then the amplifier will not clip when your voltage drops. If you set your amplifier gains to your highest charging voltage level, then when your voltage drops, yes, your amplifier is going to be going into clipping because the amplifier gain is set improperly, plain and simple. If you know that your voltage is going to drop, then you need to set your amplifier gains to your lowest uh, dropping, your lowest voltage dropping point. And this is what I'm going to show you. Now, this is an NVX. Um, it's a two-channel amp. It's an NBA 201. It's a 200 by 2 at 4 ohms. I'm going to connect it only to this power supply. It's a 10 amp current limiting power supply. It is going to be unloaded. That way I can keep it on and show you what it does and what it doesn't do the full time without worrying about resistors overheating or speakers overheating or talking over a subwoofer playing or any of that nonsense. So we're just going to start it up, and I'm going to set the gain at 15.5 volts because people run lithium at 15.5 volts. So let's just do that. So I've got the DD1 track. Track 1, it's 40 hertz at 0 dB. I'm going to turn the amplifier on, and as you can see, it came on. And you can see right here, that's the amperage. It's got a 1 amp draw at idle. So now I want to turn the volume. I just turned the volume up. All right, so now I'm going to put the volume on 50, 50. Then I'm going to adjust the gain right here. That's all I'm going to do is adjust the gain. So right there, it's clipping. I want to back it down. Now it's not clipping. Okay. All right. So if I turn the volume up 1 click, it goes into clipping. Turn it back down 1 click and it's clean. Turn it down 1 click and now you can see the waveform shrink on the screen because the voltage is lower. And right here at the bottom left hand of the screen, you can see the frequency. It's 40 hertz and we got 72.6 volts right now at that volume 50. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate the voltage drop. I've got a coarse tune and a fine tune. My fine tune is all the way to the right, so I'm going to turn the fine tune down. I'm going to try not to be in any screen's way. I'm going to turn the fine tune down. And as you see, when the voltage drops, your bass is hitting, voltage drops. See, look, I just dropped, and he's put it back at about 15 volts. So if you set the gains on your amplifier maxed out at your highest charging voltage, which was 15.55 or 58 or whatever it was on the power supply, and then I just dropped a half of a volt, and look, it's already starting to clip. So let's see what happens. We drop down 1 full volt. All right, so that's as far as my fine tune goes. So that's like 0.9 volts. It's almost a whole volt drop. And look at the square wave. Okay. So I'm gonna turn my fine tune back up. Let's go down on the coarse tune. So right there's 14 volts. People say, oh well, I'm only dropping down to 14 volts. I should be good. Not if you set your gain at 15.5 volts. There's a 1.5 volt drop right there from 15 volts down to 14. All right. So then we got people, oh, well, let's see. Let's say we're tuned our amps at 14.5 volts because that's what or 14, let's say 14.5 volts. And then we tune our amps to 14.5 volts. So I'm going to just readjust the gain. All right, so there it's clean. And now, so let's say I've got some LFP batteries, Headway, SAPT, AGM, whatever, you know, the ones that were able to charge at 14.5 volts. And the batteries really only accept a charge up to 13 to 13.3, 13.5 volts, something like that. And that's where they hold their reserve, is about 13.5 volts. So now, once we surpass our alternator is charging at 14.5 volts, again, simulating it in a vehicle. If your alternator is charging at 14.5 volts, but then when you drop down to 13.5 volts where your battery bank is holding its reserve, well, now you're already clipping. See, you're already clipping. And now then let's say you bought too small of a battery bank, and now your battery bank, it's, you know, there's 13.15 volts. Look how hard it's clipping. And so you're dropping down into the 12.5 volt range, but you set your gains at 14.5 volts. Look how hard it's clipping. It's because people don't understand the DC circuit. And that's why I'm here to try to help people who want to learn, instead of listening to people who's trying to sell you something, like battery companies, alternator companies. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to show you, and there's 1 kilohertz. That's the DD1 track. I must have been talking for 5 minutes. We'll reset it to track 1. We've got another 5 minutes. So right there, it's 12.36 volts. And, you know, again, we set our gains at 14.5 volts. So if we go back up to 14.5, then we're clean on the screen. That's where you need to be, clean on the screen. These clip indicators, sometimes they're accurate on, you know, on the amplifiers or bass knobs or whatever. The DD1, it's actually pretty accurate. The AEMM one, it's garbage. It is not accurate whatsoever as far as clipping indicator. Oscilloscope, that's the way to go. You get a decent oscilloscope. This one was about $150. It is so easy to use, it's not even funny. Really big screen, touch screen, responsive, very user friendly. This is the way to go. I mean, you can use a smaller one, a cheaper one, but they are a little bit harder to use. This one is very easy to use. But let's get back to the clipping. Low voltage causes clipping. Yes and no. If you set your gains properly on an amplifier. So let's get back to this battery bank, SAPT, Headway. You know, the banks that are going to be holding the reserve at, you know, 13 to 13.5 volts, but they're already going to be dropping down to the 12 volt range. So if you know that you're already going to be dropping down to 12 volts and you set your gain at 12 volts, I'm setting the gain right there, clean. Now you are leaving power on the table, okay? But when you turn the volume, I'm going to go up 1 click, right? And we're clipping, but we're still at 12 volts. So we know we're going to drop down to 12 volts when the bass hits because our battery bank is not sufficient. But we're charging at 14.5 volts. So, you know, if we keep our power, if we keep our volume under control, then we shouldn't have any issues. So right here at 14.5 volts, volume 50. Now we can go 51 and see it went up. Volume 52. And now it's starting to clip just ever so slightly. Volume 53, and it's hard clip. So if you set your gain on this particular amp, this particular head unit, this particular setup, you set at volume 50 at 12 volts, then it will be clean. See, right here is volume 50. So let's drop the voltage down to 12 volts, and it's clean. So you're charging at 14.5. See, do you see? You know, as your voltage fluctuates, so when your alternator is charging at 14.5 volts, it's clean on the screen. Then the base drops, and the voltage drops down. You're still clean on the screen. Your amplifier is fine. Your speakers are fine. And if you need, you know, if you need more power, then you need to supply more power to the amplifier, and then get a bigger amplifier to counteract box rise and this, that, and the other. But now let's get to the real nitty gritty. Does low voltage cause clipping? All right, I'm going to set the gain to 0 all the way down. Let's turn it all the way down. Now I'm going to do this. These amplifiers are rated for 9 volts. Now, am I saying to do this? No, absolutely not. 9 volts, the amplifier's still on. Okay, now I'm going to set the gain. Look at that. We are very low voltage. And the track reset, that's 1 kilohertz. Set it back to 50 hertz. We're at the 10-minute mark. Still got a little bit of time. I got to keep my videos around 20 minutes or less. Otherwise, my computer won't let me transfer the file from my phone to my computer. So there it is. Now, as you can see down here, the voltage RMS, the volts RMS, is 40 volts. You know, so it's a significantly lower rail voltage, or voltage on your speaker outputs. So you're not getting as much power because the voltage is way low. Okay. But low voltage itself does not cause clipping. What causes clipping with low voltage is improper gain adjustments due to the fact that you do not have the proper electrical to run the amplifier. You know, you need the correct size, a properly sized battery bank to run your amplifiers. And then you need a way to replenish the lost energy out of the battery bank, whether it be a power supply, a battery charger, or an alternator. And that's the job of those devices, is to replenish lost power into the battery bank, lost energy into the battery bank. Battery bank's job is to run your amplifiers. All right, so does low voltage cause clipping? We've got 9 volts going into this amplifier. And I know somebody's going to say, well, why didn't you hook up a speaker to it? I have done that testing before, and it's no different, except for you're just generating heat through the speaker or the resistors and the amplifier. Right now, the amplifier is not doing anything except just sending a signal out of the amplifier. It's not loaded down, so it's not being driven very hard. But I've done that testing with a subwoofer. I've done that testing with resistors, and it's the same outcome. Low voltage itself does not cause clipping. Stop spreading false information. voltage drop with an improperly set amplifier. If you improperly set the gains on your amplifier, as I showed earlier, and your voltage drops, then that's what causes clipping, because you're overdriving the amplifier's output section. Actually, you're overdriving the amplifier's power supply section, because you're lowering the voltage coming in as the bass hits, and it pulls too much electricity, and you don't have enough power to sustain the amplifier. You don't have the power going into the amplifier to sustain the amplifier output. So you're overdriving the power supply section in the amplifier, which is going to be on this side of the amplifier. Hope that makes sense. I know I get to rambling and everything. I got a million things going on inside my brain. But hopefully, this shows you that low voltage itself does not cause clipping. It is the voltage drop due to improper electrical and improper amplifier gain adjustments. Now, right here, you've seen I increased the voltage, but the gain is set at the same position, and it's 40 volts. So now I can, if you do have the electrical to support the amplifier, well, now instead of 40 volts at 14.5 volts input, well, now we can get 67 volts, 65 volts, wherever it lands. So that's, you have to have the amperage to support the amplifier, and then, worry about your voltage. Amperage first, current first, then worry about voltage. Increase your voltage after you get the proper amount of current going into the amplifier. All right, then. That's it for this one. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment or two. And on to the next subject on the next video, I guess. See you next time.